Hello guys, welcome back to another video. So we are going to be working on the BMW E46 touring project then, and we're going to be paying some close attention to the brakes today. Now, I really haven't had a good drive in the car to determine whether or not the brakes are good or not. But just taking a look at them, I know they do need some close attention. The fronts really don't look that bad, you know, they look fairly new. Both the discs and the pads have plenty of meat left on them, so chances are I probably won't be swapping them out. I'll just give them a clean up and probably re-grease things like the slide bolts. But the rears, they really are looking a bit sorry for themselves, so I probably will be swapping out the rear discs and pads. And I'm also going to be swapping out the handbrake shoes as well. Now, Autodoc have kindly sent me out these Ridex handbrake shoes and also an accessory kit as well, which includes all of the springs to get these things installed. And they've also sent me out two new Ridex brake pad wear sensors as well, just in case they do need replacing. Chances are they will snap when you go ahead and remove them, so we have these on hand just in case that happens. Now then, let's get outside and let's get cracking. Okay then, so as you can see, we're starting on the rear. I've went ahead and taken the wheel off, and I've actually stripped down the whole brake assembly. So the caliper is removed, the caliper bracket is removed, obviously the brake disc is removed. For those wondering what kind of condition the original discs are in, this is them here. They have got quite a big lip on them, much more than the front, so we are going to be swapping these out today. Like I said, they do look quite bad, to be honest, don't they? The original pads, they have quite a bit of meat left on them, but I was actually thinking, I don't know if these are the correct size, because I think the reason that we are having this ring around the edge of the disc, you can see it more on the front, the reason that we're having this ring around the disc is because the pads are the wrong size. Like, they're sitting about, you know, 3mm away from the edge of the disc. So I'll be interested to compare these to the new pads that I have, to see if they are the same size. But yeah, that could just be normal. But yeah, I think these are the wrong size. So yeah, there's the discs and pads removed then. Also went ahead and removed the original handbrake shoes. You can see they still have a lot of material left on them, but I just wanted to kind of rebuild the whole lot today. Now you can see we are lacking a dust shield. That is because this is what it looked like. You can see it's very, very rusty. Now potentially I could have got away with reusing this again, but yeah, I don't want to, you know, try and clean this up and reuse it, because you may think it doesn't really matter, a dust shield, but on the rears it does, because where the handbrake shoes go onto the dust shield, there's actually a spring. It's not a screw, it's kind of like a spring clip that you push through there, then you have to rotate. Now that actually locks in place against the dust shield, and if the dust shield is rusty, then you can see what has happened here. The pin has actually just ripped through the rusty dust shield, and it's not uncommon for that to actually happen while you're driving along. If you hear like a ping from the rear, that pin can actually just go through the dust shield. So I may as well just go ahead and replace them. So I have bought some brand new dust shield, but I actually had to cut this straight away because obviously you can see if this was complete circle, you'd have no way of getting this over the hub. The way that you're supposed to replace these is to remove the hub, which I really don't want to do, because then you've got to press bearings out, and then we're talking into a much bigger job. So I just went ahead and cut a section out of the dust shield, and we now should be able to slide this over the hub. But yeah, what I've got to do first is remove the original bolts on the dust shield. So we have one there, one there. They are just 10mm bolts. Then we have two right down here, just between, sorry, either side of the handbrake cable itself. These are 16mm bolts. I do have some brand new, fresh, genuine BMW bolts as well, which we will obviously be replacing these with. Yeah, these original bolts are shot. If I can't get them out, then we'll just go ahead and just drill them out or cut them out or whatever. But yeah, let's get the rest of this removed and then we can start cleaning up. There we are then. That's one of those 10mm bolts removed. You can just see how rusty these things are. When they were in there, they kind of look like 11 or 12mm bolts, but I have checked them against the new bolts with the part number, and I can confirm they are 10mm. Easiest way to remove these, if you do have a 1/4 inch socket set, is put the extension through the wheel bolt hole and then put the socket onto the bolt and then kind of join them together, and obviously you can just ratchet it off then. Make sure this is on properly though, otherwise you'll just end up rounding the bolt. Okay, so managed to get one of the 16mm bolts removed. Now, if you're wondering how I've done that, because I don't have a 1/4 inch 16mm socket, I've actually got a 3/8 16mm socket to a 3/8 to 1/4 inch adapter, and then basically done the same thing, join them together with a 1/4 inch extension and then just cracked it loose. These ones are very tight, so yeah, you might need a bigger ratchet or a breaker bar or something to get these done. I did just about manage to get this done, but I feel like this thing was close to snapping. Now we have the other bolt removed as well. We should now be able to get this dust shield removed one way or another. I'm just going to have to break it or cut it, I don't know, but there's nothing holding this thing on now apart from a lot of rust. There we are, there's that removed. Now we can just go ahead and give all this a good clean up with a wire brush. And now that this entire area is now nice and clean, it's time to install our new and modified dust shield. Then we can go ahead and secure this with our new bolts. Okay then, so that is our new dust shield installed with the 4 new bolts. Now you can see where I've had to cut the dust shield to allow it to go over the hub, that I've left just enough room for these bolts to hold it in place. You want to leave, I'd say, at least 2 or 3mm of material to the side of the bolt, just so this can securely be held in place. Alright then, so now it's time to get started on the handbrake shoe assembly. Okay then, so this is the setup that you want to have then. So if you have both of the handbrake shoes side by side, you want to have the cog wheel, you know, the adjuster screw at the top with this spring. As you can see, there is different slots at the top and the bottom, so you want to have these slots at the top with the adjuster wheel. And then what you want to do is, without this spring popping out, is prise it open and slide it over the hub, and then these notches in the handbrake shoes. They go into the slots on the handbrake cable clip. So if we try and line this up, and then we need to secure the entire assembly into place by installing one of these spring screws. So we line it up correctly, insert it through the hole in the backing plate, and then turn it 90 degrees, and that should hold the assembly into place. Obviously there's just one on the bottom that we need to do as well. And as you can see, that one is now in place as well. And this thing is steady now. All we need to do is install the last remaining spring that goes on this side, which is this one here. And there we are then, with this clip installed. That is the new handbrake assembly fully installed. Now what's left to do is get our new discs on with our new pads and the caliper assembly all reinstalled to the hub. Now I'm not going to bore you with the discs and pads installation. I've done it plenty of times on my channel, but I did say I was going to compare the old pads to the new pads to see if there is any size difference. So we'll go ahead and put them back to back, and yes, it does actually look like there is a bit of size difference. As you can see, we have them both together, and the new pads look like they are probably 2 or 3 millimeter wider, which would make sense. Okay, so as you can see, everything is now back together. New discs, new pads, new wear sensor as well. I did end up replacing that. The wear sensor on the E46 is very, very long. Kind of goes all the way around there, through the subframe, underneath a piece of trim, then up to a junction box, which the original wear sensor wasn't even in the junction box. I guess someone was just too lazy and just sort of left it out, but I have tucked that all the way nicely now, and it's all in the proper channels. But that's looking much better now with the new dust shields, new handbrake shoe assembly, new discs, new pads, and I went ahead and done the same on the other side as well. Now I am going to take a look at the front brakes and see what needs doing there. More than likely just going to be taking everything apart and giving everything a good grease. But while I've got the rear up in the air, I'm actually going to go ahead and do the brake fluid flush for the rears, and then once that's done I can put the wheels back on, and then like I said, we can move on to the fronts. Okay, so the rear brakes have now been bled with my homemade brake bleeder kit. It's just a bottle with a tube in it, and this goes on to the bleeder nipple. Now if you're wondering what size they are on this particular car, I don't know if it's the same for all E46s, but this one is a 9mm nut. Now if yours was as rusty as mine, I would not put a spanner or a wrench on here. I would actually go ahead and put a 9mm deep socket on there just to crack it loose, because if you just go and try and do it with a regular wrench, then you might end up rounding it off. Okay, so if we have a look at the front brakes, then you can see they are very rusty. This is just surface rust because the car's been sitting for a couple of weeks. But if we actually have a look how much material we have left, there is like next to no lip on these discs, and the pads, they look almost new. So it really doesn't make sense to, you know, swap out these discs and pads when they, you know, have not long been replaced. But what I am going to do though is remove the caliper slide bolts and give them a grease up, because more times than not people often forget to re-grease them when they, you know, change the pads or whatever. Now I'm just going to give the caliper a good clean up, and then once that's done I'll stick the wheel on and that'll be the fronts done. Okay, so I've actually decided I'm going to remove the caliper itself, not the bracket. I'm just going to remove the caliper itself just because, well, I'm going to be removing the slide pins anyway to re-grease them. But I'm just going to give the caliper a good clean out and put some anti-seize on the pads. I don't know if it's already got some on, but I want to give it all a good clean out anyway, and then I'll just reassemble everything. So yeah, we'll start off and get this clip removed at the front first. And we'll pop off the caps for the caliper slide bolts at the rear. Yeah, so it looks like they have had some grease on in the past, but these are bone dry now, so I'll give these a clean up and yeah, re-grease them with the red rubber grease. Yeah, same again for this one. Got the tiniest bit of grease on, but it's all old and nasty now. Just need to wind the piston in slightly so I can remove the caliper. Should do it. Yeah, have a look at the pads. Yeah, they seem to be wearing evenly, which is good. Pistons don't look too bad, the seals as well, nothing leaking or anything, which is good. Let's give it all a good clean out. And there are slide bolts as well. Now, with the pads themselves, they have this anti-squeal pad on now, so you don't really need to apply any anti-seize, but I like to do it anyway, just for peace of mind. Doesn't hurt to do it, just where it makes contact with the piston. And then on the front pad as well, on the two contact areas. And then I like to apply a bit on the top and the bottom where it makes contact with the caliper bracket. Keep it sliding nicely. Now we'll put some of this red rubber grease onto the slide bolts. Don't be shy with this, put plenty on. We'll go ahead and insert these into the caliper. Caliper can go back onto the bracket. There we are. Tighten down the bolts. And we'll reinstall our front clip. And we'll just reinstall our slide bolt caps on the rear of the caliper. Okay then, so that is this side now done. And I've went ahead and done the other side as well. And I've also replaced the brake pad wear sensor on this side as well for a new one. The other one was kind of a bit brittle, and when I removed it, part of it did break off, so rather than leave it to chance and try and, you know, install a half broken one, I just went ahead and replaced it for a new one. And with the front brakes done, I've also went ahead and done a full fluid flush on the fronts as well. Now all I need to do is get the wheels back on and then get this car back on the ground. And as you can see, I've also went ahead and topped up the brake fluid reservoir to the maximum as well. Okay then, so that's another job done on the BMW E46 project. That is the front brakes service, you could say. You know, we just stripped them down, gave them a good clean up, re-greased them. And then on the rear, we have replaced both of the dust shields, we have replaced both of the handbrake shoe assemblies, we have installed new discs, new pads, and then greased everything, of course, as well. Oh, and we also done a full brake fluid flush and also adjusted the parking brake, and that now works perfectly. Now obviously I haven't had a chance to test drive it yet. I have just pulled forward and backwards, and the brake pedal does feel very firm now, which it didn't when I first got the car. So I guess that is a positive, but like I said, we really need to wait until we can take for a good test drive to make sure everything is working smoothly. But I'm sure we will be okay in that department. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please remember to give it a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next one. Peace!